Now I've just turned the lights on my Nano aquarium, so all the corals are closed up and the fish are half asleep. But I have had a request from one of my lovely viewers to go through what's involved with looking after this fish tank. Now, first thing I'll say is that I don't do too much. All there is a pair of clownfish. I do intend on putting a little bicolored bicolored blenny in there as well. I will end up putting a strom snail in there just to stir the sand. But in regards to what do, the main thing I do is top it up, because it does evaporate water. So I just top up a bit of RO water and I just put a bit of buffer, a little squirt of Ultimate Aquacare alkalinity into the water before I throw it in there to do my top-ups. I watch the sump level at the bottom. If the sump goes too low, it starts shooting air bubbles out of the outlet. I do make sure the outlet is agitating the surface beautifully to make sure my gas exchange is very good. I currently don't have a skimmer on this tank because I do run polyfilter just down there. Now the polyfilter adsorbs and absorbs the fish waste straight out of solution, so therefore I haven't bothered about a skimmer, because the polyfilter will remove everything I don't want and leave in everything I do want. But if I was going to populate this tank heavily, I'd definitely put a skimmer on it. But seeing I've got such a little bit of stock, I haven't got a skimmer on it now. I do turn the lights on and off every morning, giving it about 8 hours of light. I do get a piece of polyfilter and wipe out the inside of the aquarium once a week. I do intend on putting some snails in there, but this is a fairly new tank. I do clean out this pre-filter section probably about once a week. I do check the polyfilter once a week. If once it turns black, that'll take months, then I'll chuck it out and replace it. About once a month I'll just check on the marine pure, which is down there. The marine pure is where I get all my biological and mechanical filtration. Sorry, not mechanical, but biological filtration. So I've just got some marine pure, which is just a cut up plate of this stuff, which is offering my nitrifying and denitrifying media. I do feed the fish. I feed them this Spectrum Thera A. I feed them that 5 times a week. Just a couple of little pellets between them. The other thing I do is do water tests. So I test pH probably once every 2 weeks. Try and keep it at 8.4. When the tank was new, I was testing ammonia and nitrite. Probably won't worry about it anymore. I do test nitrate every couple of weeks. I test KH about once a week. I test calcium about once a week. And I test phosphate about probably once a week. Now, that's the tests I do. I do check the salinity probably once a week. And then the supplements I add. I add about 1 ml of that once a week. I add about 1 ml of that once a week. I add about 1 ml of that once a week. I add about 1 ml of that every day. I haven't added that because I haven't needed to, but I keep my eye on that. I'll put the skimmer on if I do decide to run that one. And that's basically all that I add at this stage. I am going to have to start adding a trace element supplement, which I've not done yet, which is definitely going to help as the tank matures. I do dump Easy Life in there every now and then for good luck. The Easy Life just helps to hold in solution what I want and drop out of solution what I don't want. So all in all, this tank takes about 10 minutes a week to look after. Not much of its actual work. I do a water change about once a month and just drain out a little bit of water using a gravel cleaner. The gravel cleaner sucks all the waste out of the bottom, which there isn't much because the tank's still pretty new. So at the end of the day, you're looking at about 10 minutes a week to look after this tank. I will also say that I have big aquariums in the shop that take about 10 minutes a week too. So small amounts of maintenance regularly, and just having a schedule is really the key. Having a logbook, particularly as a beginner, and just filling in the logbook. as you go. If you are a beginner, it's highly advisable. And the other advice I'll just give you is that if the tank's going great and your corals are opening and your fish are happy, then that's all good. I would recommend to anyone that's a beginner to make sure you grab a copy of my Marine Aquarium guide, because it's a really easy way to learn. And at some point also make sure you learn the 8 principles. So you can see it on saltwaterhub.com, or you can see it on Majestic Aquarium's TV. So keeping a saltwater fish tank is not so much about what you need to do, it's much more about what you need to know. So it's basically about doing a couple of tests a week, checking the filters every week, doing a water change every now and then, topping up every week, having the right filtration. Polyfilter and Marine Pure is sort of your answer to everything. Having the right food, don't overfeeding, and feeding very high quality food such as Spectrum. And I offer support to anyone that wants to do this. I don't care how nice your house is, this will blow away anything in your house. It'll be the absolute talk of your room, of your kitchen, of your office. It's really beautiful. At the end of the day, the corals grow, the fish grow, and if you experience anything less than what I'm talking about, what I'd ask you to do is just pop down and see me, bring a sample of water from the tank, and bring a little video of your tank running. And there's absolutely no excuse for your tank not looking like this one. And this really is a beautiful fish tank, and it really doesn't take long to look after. It takes very little cleaning. It's not expensive to run because it's so small. Like you're buying your bottles of supplements and that, and you're putting in like 1 mil here and 1 mil there, so it really lasts for heaps long, and it really is a pleasure to keep. So anyway, if you've got any more questions about how we run our little Nano reef aquarium, then just put a little note down the bottom of this video, or send me an email, paul@majesticaquariums.com.au. and it really is a wonderful hobby to get started in. If you haven't started, just go for it. It's really great to start with the nanos. I'm not going to pretend the nanos are easier to keep than the big tanks, because they're not. They're not as stable, but they're also not as expensive. So they're a very cheap introduction, and if you can keep a nano, then keeping a big tank is basic, because the big tanks stay nice and stable, and you still go through the same motions, but you've got a little bit more glass, you change a little bit more water, you change a bit more filter media. It really doesn't take too much longer to maintain a bigger tank than a small tank. But the costs are different. It's cheaper to have the small tank. Anyway, tell us what you think. What do you think of my Nano? Once again, don't judge me on the corals right now, because there are other videos that you can watch that I've posted recently when the corals are open. But right now it's very late at night, and I just turned the lights on because I knew I forgot I had to make this video. It really is a pleasure.